Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello, and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Mike, and not the normal person who is introing us in every week. Kyle is on a little bit of a vacation, so I am here today with Jay the Man Shalansky and Tim Stabcast Hannon. How you guys doing?
Hello. I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Great. We finally did it. We finally started slumming, and we've
you know, there's been so many people asking us for the hot takes episode.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, once you go through the whole barrel, you got to get to the bottom eventually, and here we are. That's the true is here for.
True end of times. We've opened the ninth gate.
You open the ninth gate, there is no more gates, only Stabcast.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, and Jay is messing with this video for some reason. No big deal. And so I guess to start us off, why don't we talk about housekeeping real quick?
Housekeeping. All right. So here we are, housekeeping. Guess what we're going to talk about, Tim?
Housekeeping.
Stormtide.
I was close.
Yeah,
you were close. You were close. A plus for effort.
Thank you. It seemed on message, but you know.
Yeah, you're doing good. So Stormtide box 2, month 2 is here and is upon us. We shipped it out Friday-ish, and I think I saw today in our shipping app that a bunch of you were getting them today. So that's pretty crazy and awesome. Our faithful postal service doing their job. Which is good to see. So so if you haven't signed up for Stormtide and you're wondering what is Stormtide, you can go to the website, stormtide.thefifthtrooper.com. Check it out. It's a monthly narrative campaign where you and your friends can play Legion in a different way. That's our whole goal.
Awesome. It is awesome.
Hey, thanks, man. You're awesome.
Thank you. You don't have to lie on camera, but that's okay.
I know. I just it didn't feel right when I said it. You're right. I'm gonna.
Oh man,
it was like just dirty water in my mouth.
It is awesome. It is an awesome thing. I am still waiting to find people. I keep finding people to try with, and they back out on me. I'm like, all right.
Oh, that's the worst.
That sucks.
Sitting next to me.
There's nobody from Stabcast. It's like, we're gonna jump into this.
Our schedules are so like jumbled right now. It's partially on my end too. But
sure.
I love all the, and this is just for the record. I mean, I didn't help make this, so this is just an outside opinion here. But it's just as a consumer, I'll just let you know it is such high quality. It is amazing. Like I love it. I love it to death.
Thanks. We spent a lot of time on it, so I appreciate that. The other thing you could do to support us is join our Patreon. So, Tim, I don't know if you know this, but we have another podcast called The Fifth Trooper After Dark. We talk the real grit and grime.
So what am I doing here? I should be on that instead.
Maybe.
Because a lot of what I say gets cut out of our show too. So if I can't have an After Dark, I'll go on your After Dark instead. That's fine.
We don't cut anything out of the After Dark ever.
Nope. Tim Hannon After Ginger,
That's right. So if you want to hear our elaborated thoughts on things, you could join us on the Patreon. And what it does is it just helps us. We get all this equipment for the podcast. We need to pay for the hosting for the podcast. We have a writing staff for our blog. That's what the Patreon does, is it pays for all that stuff. And you're just basically supporting us, and we appreciate that. A lot of people think, well, hey, Jay, you guys got a store too. Well, that's its own thing. And so the store is one side of the business, and then all the, content creation's another thing, which is what the Patreon supports. So that's what you're doing when you support us on Patreon. And we give away other rewards and cool shit and stuff. And that's it.
Yeah, definitely appreciate people buying stuff off the store, but we like sort of break even.
Yeah. We do what we do.
You're not recording this on like gold encrusted computers and things like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
In my castle in the clouds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
we're flying above Tim's house. We've just haven't invited him into our castle.
Yeah, we're literally in the cloud.
It's a taunting thing. It's psychological warfare. I get it. It's
Tim, is there anything you would like to plug while we are in the housekeeping section here?
Sure, might as well use this. So if you like listening to good podcasts and materials, but you get bored of that and you want to listen to something else instead, you can listen to Stabcast. We are on all the major media outlets, I guess, for podcasts. I'm a big Spotify guy myself, but
same.
Evidently we're on YouTube as well, but like not the video, just the audio. I don't know. We've had like I think we had like 10 listeners on there. We don't know how that works yet, but somehow we're on there. So yeah,
Love it.
All of our stuff is at SW Stabcast.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, you guys, I highly recommend it. They do a lot of great content. So I know you guys, I know behind closed doors, I for sure put you down, and I know that you guys put yourselves down, but no, seriously.
We do it in front of everyone.
Yeah, I do it. Yeah, just behind the closed doors. But no, you guys do great stuff. And I hear a lot from mutual listeners, and they say they love, you guys do some of the best audio bat reports out there. Like you guys are great about that and going through your games and really describing what's going on. So
yeah, that's something that we keep. You want to talk about housekeeping? Here you go. You're a little behind the scenes. You can watch Notorious Scoundrels. It's behind the scenes on Stabcast. There you go. We're working to try and kind of not trim that up, but kind of make that more focused on the content of like, what does someone want to hear? What do you need to hear? Because you don't need to hear every single thing that goes on through our head in a battle, but if it's a really important turn, so trying to focus on a few specific turns and actions and things, while still giving you an overall view of what happened.
Yeah, I think you guys do a great job with that. So keep it up.
It's a difficult thing to do too. Like from if you're not live casting a game, like retelling a game, like a story back to someone and keeping them invested and interested is it's a difficult task. So
it's trying to walk that line where you want to give enough detail to where they can paint a mental picture, but also not fall asleep while painting that picture.
Totally. Yeah, I feel that. Sweet. So check out Stabcast. As much as we give each other crap, they are good friends, and we would appreciate everybody to listen to them.
They're all right friends.
Okay. We've met a few times.
Right. They're acquaintances.
There was still that tequila incident in Vegas, but
yeah. All right. We're gonna chug right along to the news segment of today.
Welcome to In the News.
All right, so most of the news was last week. We pretty much had a mini-stravaganza dump. We talked about all that good stuff last week. So two things we're going to do in today's news segment. We are going to talk about some release schedule shenanigans, and then we are going to get Tim's takes on mini-stravaganza. And so I guess to start here, I think when I originally put this on the agenda, it was less confirmed than I think it is now, but it seems like basically all of the releases that had been slated for August, September, October are now like November 30th.
Yeah.
Listen, it happens. We're experiencing some delays in some of our product as well. Not 4-month delays, but some. And so, it's a little different, but listen, it's crazy out there. I get it. Like, as much as I put AMG down for all the shenanigans they pull, this is one of those things where I'm not going to talk too much crap because, man, the world is crazy right now. And I don't know. This is like one of those times where I'm just going to leave them alone because who knows what's going on.
Well, and like once you get that product on the boat, or on the container or whatever, once it's out of your hands, it's literally out of your hands. So like I imagine the product is out there floating around, maybe literally floating around somewhere, waiting to come in, So
well, I'll give you it. So here's a little behind the scenes. We do our mats. We have the same thing going on right now. Generally in the past, it's been like, hey, we're going to put it on the boat. It's going to be 30 days. It'll get to you. Now they're literally like, 45, maybe 60 days. We're not really sure. And we're like, what? So, I mean, that's just how things are right now because they don't have enough people to unload the boats. They don't have enough boats to carry things. They don't have enough containers to put things in. It's nuts.
And you need space for those containers. Like it's a whole logistical nightmare right now. Like I don't envy anyone in any of those positions right now. Like I know that it's, if you're working for those jobs, like it's probably great to be looking for a job in that department, but like it's still going to be rough right now.
Yeah, so I would say these are one of those things I don't really blame AMG or Asmodee for. It's just, it is what it is. It's just life right now.
It is, but I gotta be honest. I want my Yoda.
Yeah. Well, when you look over at Europe and you see Europe, the top two of that 64 person event, both lists were Yoda.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm excited.
I'm a little bit skeptical at the results. I'm just like, I'm not sure I like have made a good
too much
Yoda
R2
list,
for you.
We're gonna get to that later.
I just want my burst of speed.
You mean that overrated card? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, overrated card. Oh man,
yeah.
This is gonna be so. Just so everybody knows, we're gonna have a hot take segment. I know we don't have the full Stabcast here.
I'm writing burst of speed overrated right now for one of our hot takes.
Over and over again.
Yeah,
it's true.
But yeah, I mean, this is unfortunate. It makes me super happy that we're pretty much doing everything domestically for Stormtide. So we don't have to deal with this sort of thing. But you know, when you do stuff on the scale that they're doing it, you can't do it domestically. You know,
only thing we have to worry about with Stormtide is my chickens scaring off the delivery people.
Yeah, that's for sure. Sometimes they scare off me when I come to your garage. They're like full on attack, but they're like the chickens in Ocarina of Time when you hit them with a sword, you know. Yep. And they just full on like chicken rage at you.
I've trained them. They're attack chickens.
Is it like Skyrim where like if you hit a chicken, Jay's gonna come out of his house and start like trying to kill you?
Yeah.
Beat you down.
I don't know. He said they were only like $5 a pop. So all right. So clearly Mini-stravaganza was last week. We got all the scoundrels takes kind of through and through. Tim, what do you think, man? We've got Shadow Collective, we've got New Maul, we've got Ewoks, we've got Ahsoka, we've got Rebel, Boba Fett, you know, we've got Mando and the Child, we've got Swoop Bike Riders. What are your thoughts?
There's, I guess my overall thoughts, there's a lot to be excited about, but it's not so much too much, but it's too much too far out for me to get super excited. Like I'm excited about the idea of it, like swoop bikes. Cool. No idea. I mean, we already got speeder bikes, right? So it's like, okay, I'm assuming it's gonna be like Rebel speeder bikes or something like that, whatever. Awesome. But we all know that that's so far out. I'm like, okay. I do think the Pike stuff is going to be really cool, and all that stuff is going to be really interesting to see how that fits. I'm still not, I won't pretend to fully grasp the whole Battle Force thing. I've been trying to do like read up on that and read everybody's posts and read what they said about it, and I'm like, neat. I'm going to need some more like concrete details on that, but it still sounds cool. And Ewoks, unfortunately, we knew were going to happen. I'm waiting for Ewoks to have a better stat line than Stormtroopers, because clearly they do. Clearly Endor proved that to us, right? So clearly Ewoks must be tougher than Stormtroopers.
Yeah, did you ever see that? There was a fan-made video of like the Stormtrooper that was stuck on Endor, and the Ewoks were like hunting him, like it was like a horror movie. Oh my god, it's so good.
In Battlefront 2, the most recent Battlefront 2, there's a mode, and actually I played that, and I wish to God I had been streaming when I did this. I played the mode, and it said Ewok hunt, and my Imperial sadistic self was like, yeah, we're gonna hunt those little gremlins down, yeah. And I start the game up, and it's all just like a black forest, and you have one weapon and a flashlight, and you just hear like in the background, like, oh, they're coming, they're in the trees, and you see like take a guy, they got Gary, oh my god, and they're like, this is a horror movie, I didn't know what was gonna happen. It's like horns in the deep.
Yeah, you go to hunt the Ewoks, and it turns out the Ewoks hunt you.
It's terrifying.
So that's how I hope they are. That would be amazing. Yeah,
I'd be mad, but also a little tickled. So like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
You get used to it as an Imperial. So
yeah.
Yeah, I know you know. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm very excited for all of it. I think it's cool. I'm just a little, not even hesitant. It's just a little bit too far out for me. I want to focus more on the here and now.
Yeah, it's I mean, kind of going back to the whole like Yoda releases push back till November. Like, we haven't even gotten the stuff that, you know, is supposed to be new and fresh right now, and we're talking about things like years down the line. It's a little overwhelming from that perspective, I think, too.
Yeah, it's funny. There was like, I went to a tournament mid to late August, and we were like trying to figure out if Yoda was going to be legal for that tournament, and now it seems so silly heading into October. But yeah.
I'm a little bit grumpy about it because to save on shipping, I bundled my Yoda and Wookiee pre-order with like a bunch of other stuff that like isn't even Legion related. It was just like I had like $300 in Invader League gift cards, some of which are courtesy of the Stabcast, I must say, because they sponsored Invader League. Yeah, I got like $250 worth of stuff off like Miniature Market, and now it's all like delayed until November 30th because the $15 or $20 Yoda,
dude,
you know,
that kills me with Miniature Market. They're great, but like I do that same thing. Like I'll order a bunch of stuff, and then one of them was pre-orders, and like weeks will go by. I'm like, where the hell is all my stuff? And then I go look, and I'm like, oh man, Luke Cage and Iron Fist were pre-ordered. Like son of a.
I will say, like, they have gotten a lot better about every time something gets pushed back, they email you now. It does go to your junk folder, but they do let you know.
Oh, that's good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for it. I do like the stuff. I mean, I know it was kind of looped in with Mini-stravaganza, but the teasers we got for Vader,
man, are we skipping straight to hot takes here?
I think so.
Yeah. I didn't know that was all the way down in the hot takes.
I have a great hot take for all our listeners. You guys will be happy to know that we've got another Imperial player who plays competitively on the podcast. For all of you who keep reminding me of that, go ahead, Tim. Tell them all about your Imperial woes and Vader coming.
That's most of my Imperial army over there.
Yeah.
You'll notice how they're on the shelf and not in my go bag.
I have a similar thing going on.
That's about the testament to how they're doing right now. But yeah, it's they're rough. But I think Vader getting that help is going to be. I mean, getting the command card. It's what we've been begging for. The Compel Core Trooper is cool. I don't think it's going to be game breaking. I think it's cool. Like, it's not really what I wanted. So surge tokens are what I care about the most. But yeah.
He's gonna be busted.
I want to see, and I mentioned this in our shows. Like, I want to see if I don't know if they have to do a whole lot with Op Vader, but I want to see if they touch Op Vader because that'd be kind of cool. I mean, even if not, the command card adjustments that they did are still gonna already buff Op Vader.
Yeah,
because Op Vader is like right on that threshold of being really, really scary.
he is. I actually like, I was gonna play him at Lost Worlds, and I was feeling pretty good about it for the most part. But yeah, I definitely think that like since then he maybe could use a little bit of help. The amount of help that he's getting just in the command cards, I think is ridiculous.
It's good. We need it. So he's been hurting long enough. All right. Like, I want to, when a new player comes into the store, and I will say, side note, like, our community's been doing really well, even despite Rona. Like, I don't know how, but we're
growing and
keep growing.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how that works, but okay. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But when new people come in and they see you playing an Empire list, not me, but someone else, when they see some poor sucker playing Empire and they want to know, like, oh, can I play Vader? And he kind of looked at me like, I mean, you can. It's a thing you can do. It feels bad. Like Vader should be intimidating it, and maybe not forever, not for the entire life of the game, but for a little bit. Let us have a little bit of overpoweredness, please.
I'm okay with Vader being good. I just think based on the changes that they listed, he's going to be way too good, and they're going to have to scale it back. And it's, I don't know, just not a good first look as far as like this is the first thing we're doing with the game, and here's a bunch of changes.
No. Don't let him do this to you, Tim. He's a clone player, and he's just sad that Empire's about to take back over the
Now,
reins.
To
That's-
be fair, my clones are also on that shelf right next to my Empire. What's
Nice.
not on the shelf and in the bag are the droids, but that's
There
Hey,
you go.
I just
I-
want to point
yeah.
out, by the way, to everyone out there who's so happy. I just want to tell you that I only play Empire. Okay,
Yeah.
I've never betrayed the Empire. I'm an Empire player through and through. I don't go where the good guys are. I don't go to clones when they're doing good and come back when Vader gets buffed like these lunatics. I've been here for the good times and the bad times, right alongside all of you.
You keep playing that gav tank, man. Keep like hitting yourself with that stick. Like just
It's okay. He's just listing reasons that why he's considered not a competitive player.
I mean, I've seen him play. I know why he's not considered a competitive player, but
Ooh. You gonna take that, Jay?
we can't all be
Um,
Nema, you know.
so-
It's fine.
So I guess
I was there. I remember.
I remember
I was
too.
there
I saw that
3,000
game.
years ago.
I may have casted that game actually.
Yeah, you did for sure.
But so I think we all can agree that Empire is not in a hot spot. I think the Vader changes definitely, like, more than just Vader lists need help, and those changes don't help lists that aren't Vader, right? And
Yes,
so
and-
my issue with the quote unquote Imperial problem is that we need to address the underlying fundamental problem of the faction, and most of their heroes need help, no doubt, but I don't think it's a hero problem. I think
No.
it really is derived from the core units.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have really lost a lot of luster. I still think short troopers
Yep.
are better than people give them credit for. Right now, I understand people, like, I'm definitely not as high on them as I used to be, but I still think they're decent. They probably can go back to their old price.
They're
Situation.
decent if you can get aims to them effectively, but that lack of courage, I didn't really fully understand this really, and I guess maybe I should say I do encourage people, all jokes aside, to try other factions,
Mhm.
because it does sometimes help you understand your own faction, like your main faction, a little bit better. Like, I didn't fully understand how detrimental not having a courage 2 core unit is until I started playing with phase 2s. And like, yeah, the surge token's great on phase 2s, don't get me wrong,
Oh,
but that courage 2, that's the game change to me, at least. I could be wrong. You're telling me
no,
I'm wrong, but like,
I mean,
that's the game change.
And I think what I found with Shores is, in this world of armor, whether it's simple ATRTs or even the new bus, or whatever armor you got going, right? Like,
Don't get me started on that bus.
yeah, short troopers just don't cut it like they should. Like, you're like, oh, they search to crit, but it's never enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you end up spending a short trooper unit, you put it into an armor and you get maybe 1 crit, maybe 2, and you're like, but all the rest were hits, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
man, that could have gone into an infantry unit and like really
Yeah.
taken it out,
Yeah.
unless it's clones, and then they would have been just fine. But
Yeah.
it's
But
it's
Wook-
interesting.
Wookiees will just survive anything.
Yeah.
Wookiees are my enemy right now, but that's fine.
I think the interesting thing, Mike, to your point, I think that the changes to Vader, we were talking about, because they're going to make changes to the command card, so Operative Vader is going to get a boost. Plus, if they do something else, but like, I think there was a Callus Operative Vader list. I think, Mike, I played you with it, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, that I've been trying out, that I think could be good. It just was missing some stuff to kind of push it
Yeah.
over the edge, and
That's the
like,
story of Callus, but yeah.
Yeah.
but I think he's got some good stuff with Operative Vader, that if maybe this stuff, maybe the stuff that puts it over the edge, and that becomes a winning combo because of Vader, not because Callus, but
No,
Callus,
but Callus,
ISB investigation really helps.
right?
that.
I was gonna say Callus is more. He is buffing the everything else around him,
Yeah.
very much so, and that's he's so close to being really, really good. So if Op Vader picks up the rest of that slack, then I can see it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still think fundamentally the issue with all Imperialists is, going back to like your point, Tim, is I don't know if it's the courage that needs to be directly addressed, but rebels really don't care about courage at this point because they're not
Right.
really playing a ton of core units. Droids don't
Right.
care about courage. Clones are kind of like, most of the time we're not suppressed, and if we are, we'll fire support. And Empire is sitting there like, I guess we're courage one.
Well, and that's the irony too, right? Is like we started out, and of course it's hard. You really can't compare any miniatures game, but especially Legion being where it's at now, and then like 3 years ago, whatever. But for a long time, Empire was the suppression faction.
Yeah.
And that was our shtick, and it was a really cool shtick. Like, it was fun. Yep. It was good. And then now somehow we've turned around where we're now the most hurt by suppression. Like we're now the most afraid. They still deal it effectively. Don't get me wrong. I've played against a couple Empire lists that were super suppressive and were super oppressive because of that suppression. But really, the list that, or the army that gets hurt the most by suppression is the one that deals it out the most, being Imperials. So it's like, yeah, it's weird. It's a weird place to be at.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. So my chief concern here behind this whole thing is if they do fundamentally address those issues, like Vader's going to get better even if they didn't make him better normally, right? Right. And so I'm a little concerned. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Well, and I will say, as much as I hate to give him credit, Ryan said something good on our show of, with that command slot on Vader, everyone's thinking like, oh, you can bring, AT or originals or something like that. Bring what's the Guardian one, inspiring leader or whatever it is.
Esteemed leader, right?
The esteemed leader thing. I don't know why my brain blanked out on that.
It's because people don't play it really anymore.
right. Yeah, but like you bring on Vader, and like now this, if you bring a naked snow or stormtrooper, like, you're my bodyguard now.
Yeah, and it's scary because with the surge tokens and everything he's got, like having units guardian off Vader is like, really good.
No, it's totally fair.
Yeah, totally fair and balanced.
That's right. No, the core issue is really, like, I've felt it a lot before, and then I kind of put Empire literally on a shelf for a while, and then I'm playing them again for Invader, and I feel it all over again. It hurts.
Yeah, let's dive into our tactics segment.
Well, we have one more hot take.
Okay. We do. We'll come back.
I want to hear about burst of speed.
Okay, we'll talk about burst of speed, but this seems like a natural place to talk about Invader League. So let's talk about some tactics.
Burst of meh, but yeah, that's fine.
So Tim, how's your Invader League season going? And maybe to start,
low blow, Mike.
What list? Right? What list are you playing?
Low blow. He said it's a legitimate question, but for me, it's a low blow. But that's fine. That's how it works. So I will remind anybody who's watching or listening that the last time I was on this show, I was riding high. I think it was like 4-0 with Iden dewbacks and speeder bike dewbacks, and doing great.
Sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's crazy. What a time to be alive. That's not this time anymore. So I'm bringing my ATST because it's my baby. No matter what, throughout all the troubles of the Empire, my ATST has always been my child, and I love my ATST. ATST lat with Rudor and AP shells and LTA. The ST, I should say, has mortar, twin blaster, and hammers, of course. Wow, you can't leave home without hammers. Yep. And then LTA as well. So they both have LTA. Then I got double naked commanders, just generics, double Beckies, if you will. 4 naked snows. And then 2 shores with the T21. And that's it. That's the list. We're at 10.
I guess that's 10.
What's your record?
It is a record of games played. That is what it is. And it's kind of sad. I'm sad Kyle's not here because Kyle's my judge. So like our group leader. So it would have been great. I am currently a mighty 0-3. And like it has been, I've been 0-3 before. This has been probably, and I'm not trying to be like using hyperbole or anything here, but I really think this has been my most resounding 0-3. My first game against triple Wookiee list, well, not even buses, which normally I hate buses.
Sure.
Like buses have made me almost quit this game, legitimately, but or at least take a break. But just triple Wookiees by themselves, triple Wookiees, it was over end of round 2. I called it end of round 2 because all I had left was ATST Lat and the 2 commanders. Everything else was dead. So all the other core was wiped out.
Sounds right.
Second on VAPs, I never tapped my own VAP. I tapped a VAP once. I'm sorry.
What were you? So
it was
what
immediately
deployment
untapped.
were you playing? Were you playing like Danger Close or something? Okay, Hamden. Yeah,
it hurt.
Do it.
It hurt. I was blue player.
Okay.
He was just in my face immediately with the Wookiees. And it was one of those things where you see it happening, still couldn't stop it. Like I knew, I even narrated as I played against him, was like, I see what you're doing. I'm going to try and stop you. And I shot him a bunch of times. I killed 2 of the Wookiees, but it wasn't enough. They did enough damage. Second game, I played all 6 rounds and again only had the Lat and ST left. That's it, I think. And then maybe like 1 or 2 bodies left, little like units, in an hour and 45 minutes. The whole game. Whole thing was done because we were just snapping through. That was a really bloody game. That was a really good one. Also on Hemden.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah. And I really wish Kyle was here because Kyle's like always a fan of Hemden. And I was like, you know what? Let me throw it in my battle deck because I've been blue player for some of these games.
Sure.
It's bitten me every time. Every time.
We can talk about that in a second. Let's talk about your last game.
No. And then last game was 4 ATST health shy of a total table.
Oh my god!
Against a double Lat list. So I lost 9 of 10 activations. Right, it's all 6 rounds. We played all 6. How many we got a panel here. How many activations did I kill? Let's just take it.
None.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you 1.
I killed his Lat. That's it.
Was that also
his other? It was also Hemden.
Okay, so I think for
so bad.
Moral of the story here is Tim needs to not play Hemden.
Yeah,
he needs to play a different list.
I tried. Well, yeah, that's also true.
That list is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Shut up! You play double heavies constantly.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd rather have that than a Gav.
Dude,
I'd rather have the Lat.
So
that Lat is pushing through against the armored targets with the AP shells. Sure. I'm pushing through 5 to 6 hits slash crits, whatever, every shot with Baron Rudor. Now, if they block all of those, I can't stop that. But that is what it is. But yeah.
How do you feel about so when you read that list out to me, there were a couple like things that I was like, the Lat being the primary one. Have you found that the Lat, like, do you think the Lat is good enough?
No, that's one of, so again, it's twofold. The core are really weak in that list, and there's a lot of naked bodies. But the problem too is that I can't buff them because of all the points that have gone onto the Lat.
Sure.
And so if you drop the Lat, you could and again, I don't think I'm not really like connected to that list emotionally that enough to keep trying to make it work. But I think an ATST list of whatever variation is pretty viable still, especially with all the armor. Impact 4 is great again, unless they block it all on white dice, but whatever. But the Lat is just, so again, that last game is a good instance. It was double Lat versus double armor versus double armor. He had double AP shells, Rudor and Price. He blew my Lat off the table in round 1. Just gone.
It's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Even with like not a lot of impact,
right?
Frankly.
Right. And actually, I had to activate it a little bit sooner because it was at half health, and I was like, I can read the writing on the wall. I've played this game enough, like I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Lat is just, it doesn't survive, and it just doesn't deal enough consistently, I don't know. Again, Rudor's good, but the problem is the Rudor lat, especially with like a double commander build where they're spottering him, right? So he has a pile of aims. That's all well and good. The problem is that means that you're going with him last, which gives the opponent all round to kill that lat. But then also the problem is it just takes so long to get charged up. So if you're forced to use it too early, it's basically half powered because you really need all those aims. All those aims are just making it for the lack of natural surge. That's really all it is. And everything else is just gravy. I mean, if you're trying to get crits, again, it's a little bit different, but so it dies normally either before it's able to fully be utilized or it's just never relevant enough. Because if it's not getting shot, that means the core getting shot, and if the core is scoring the objectives, then that's a bad time, you know.
Yeah,
it just feels like a lose-lose.
It's definitely like you sacrifice the core to get this thing, and then this thing just like isn't enough to carry the list, right?
Yeah. And again, for in the grand scheme of things, for a few more points, that ST just does so much better. Because like if I have to shoot with the ST and I only have 2 aims with the natural surge hit on it, that's fine. That's 2 aims on an ST with all the bells and whistles on it. Fine, no worries.
It's a little bit more time in neutral.
Well, and I think if you look at, you know, you guys brought up the tank. If you look at what things are supposed to do, right? Like the lat is meant to carry a trooper and drop it off, and then they're supposed to do a bunch of damage. And the only one that can really do that is Vader. Right. So unless you're doing a Vader bomb, the lat doesn't really have a purpose.
Yeah. Where
the tank, you know, like one of the things I've really been doing to do with the tank now is I have it with the onboard comms channel, and then I put an E-web on it with link targeting array, and you run double of both of those, and now it's got a purpose, right? Like that's
and I wish so much, and I know this is what ifs and wishes and all things, but I just really wish we could have had an option to have it run with open transport. Maybe make it, I don't know, like some kind of configuration to where, and again, if you got to pay for it, whatever, how you got to make it work balance wise, I get that. It's not just, you can't just throw that in there without balancing it. Yeah. But just having that option of being able to run it either with a closed transport or open transport, some variation that just be able to do it. Because imagine if that E-web could shoot out of there like a helo gunship just coming in like that. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
That'd be so good.
I think that would make a lot of difference. I think you're right. Like a small tweak like that could make it, if you can shoot anything out of there, like it would make a big difference.
Well, heck, let's say, and again, I don't want to go too far down this road, but you know, what if you had to drop your missile slot to open up your doors? So you don't get to shoot as many shots at your main gun, but then whoever's inside you can shoot out. So it's okay. You know, kind of evens out that way. Anyway, that's a whole lot of what ifs, but that would be my dream.
Would be good.
But yeah, it's been rough. I was a little intimidated by that double lat list because I knew exactly what was going to happen, and it happened. I was like, okay, there it is. All right. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. Like, oh my gosh, it was rough. And he had Imperial snipers, and I've never seen Imperial snipers roll that much paint in my life. Not an exaggeration. And he agreed with me. It was honky tonk, and he was a really great guy to play against. But you were like, everything he's rolling. He had at one point he had 3 aims on a sniper. Didn't need him. Just double crit. That's fine.
Nice.
Yeah, like aims for no reason. It's fine. Oh, hit. Okay,
perfect.
I'll spend an aim. Hit. There we go.
And we all know that is generally the opposite with those.
Yeah,
snipers.
I've never seen that. Like if they always rolled that way, I'd bring them all the time.
It's like that thing where they don't hit, and then you're like, just roll paint, damn it, and then they roll 2 surges, and they don't.
I was
going
to
to
say it's
surge.
not paint. It's you can't surge. So it specifically hits or crits.
Nice.
So Mike, how have your games been going?
So I guess
Better.
Yeah, I'm 3-0.
Oh, I remember those days.
Yeah.
I remember.
For
Back
those
when
of
my
you-
dewbacks did better than my lap, just for the record. But carry on.
If you've been listening, everybody knows that I am playing Kenobi Star, if you will. So definitely I decided to switch it up this season because Rexstar was feeling a little old. I also again feel like it's not as good as it used to be. My last game was super interesting. It's the only one that we haven't talked about on the cast yet, really. I played against Dooku Maul. And it was real scary. Basically Maul, we were playing key positions, major offensive, hostile environment, and Maul infiltrated like on top of the middle key position pretty safely. Basically, I was red player, and it was that or recover the supplies, and recover the supplies with Maul is kind of, I prefer to not play that. It can be real bad. And so he killed, I only lost an activation. I basically ended up tabling him, but like just like dealing with Dooku and Maul, it's probably the best game I've played in a while, from like the stage of like there's 2 force users like in my clone units, and I have to like puzzle my way out of this mess type situation. And it was tough. But Kenobi is the man. So I killed Maul with Sarasu Mastery,
as you do,
which would just like it's like that fine Kenobi wine, it's like
Kenobi wine,
and then so not only did he kill Maul in his Sarasu Mastery, Maul only left him on 1 wound after that attack, so Kenobi had 1 wound left. I hadn't activated him yet that turn, and like Dooku still, and it was Dooku's 1 pip turn, right? So It was Dooku's 1 pip turn. Maul went first, had cunning because of how that list works, and I was like, well, I guess I could like try and mess with Dooku with Kenobi, but he's just gonna die, right? So we were playing on the Tatooine map, and I just like threw Kenobi over the side of a building and was like, you're just gonna stay back here where nobody can touch you, and you're not gonna do anything, and I'm gonna let my pure clone gun line deal with Dooku and his 1 pip, which, as you might imagine, didn't go so well for the clones.
Their sacrifice was appreciated. Thank you.
But to kind of back that up, the following turn, I just played what's the Kenobi's 2 pip? Knowledge and defense.
Yep.
And he got like 6 dodge tokens, jumped back over the building, kills Dooku, and he's just like, and so I play Kenobi with situational awareness, and so my opponent's got a bunch of B1s, and he's like, oh man, I mean he's got a bunch of dodge tokens, but I can roll crits, and I'm like, no, you can't.
First off, that's a big
he was like, you've got situational awareness, and I was like, yeah. And it's incredible because he's on 1 wound, but I was like, I can play him like he's basically invincible this turn.
Yeah, every one of those dodges is another wound, really.
It's just and I still had I think Hello there in the tank too, so it was just like, like Kenobi is just battling a bunch of B1s, and he's now invincible after killing the 2 force users, right? And it just he's so good. I basically only took damage from force choke and Dooku's 1 pip and like Maul's lightsaber. Basically everything with Pierce in his list. And it was really fun and really cool. I haven't played a game like that was that back and forth in a long time. So I definitely enjoyed it. Overall, Kenobi's definitely not the best list. It's not I don't feel as confident in the list I'm playing as I normally do, but he definitely, Zach used to champion him pretty hard, and
rightfully so.
And I'm coming around. Like he has a very unique suite of abilities that are really cool. Along with everything else, I just wish that like things in that faction were a little bit cheaper.
Well, and let me ask you, so were you playing, it sounds like I think I already know my answer, but I'm going to ask, have you been playing him so far more aggressive or defensive?
So I am in the mindset that I only swing Kenobi's lightsaber if I have to. He just is like sitting there as like a force barrier, Surasu mastering, dodge token, deal. He does a lot of work, and just like projecting his threat bubble is a big deal. I find that generally around turn 4 or 5, he swaps from like defensive Obi-Wan to now I'm gonna slam you in the face, Obi-Wan. I try and save things for that. But like in my second game, we were playing hostage exchange, and I just played like knowledge and defense turn 1 and like dove at the enemy hostage, and it was clutch.
Right.
So
I was curious because I know Will locally plays Kenobi a lot, and he's definitely more of an aggro Kenobi player, and it works really well for him normally. I mean, occasionally, of course, you have those games where he just gets blown away, but most of the time, it works really well, and he's either tabling people or coming close to tabling them, because it just, once Obi-Wan gets going, and especially with those command cards popping off the right order and getting all those things going, he is a beast to try and bring down. And like that surging, or excuse me, the deflecting in melee is it's so hard, it's so rough.
So good.
Oh my god,
it's
so rough.
I think if he was in any other faction, he would be the best force user in the game, probably.
That's fair.
I think force users and clones just sort of suffer from
and it's crazy to me that we see a lot of like real person tournaments or IRL tournaments doing more Anakin than Obi-Wan, and that just blows my mind.
I'm with you, man. I am with you.
Now hold on, and I brought Anakin to not this past Dallas, but 2 Dallases ago, and got to third with him. Like, so it's not to say that he can't do well, but I still think even after doing all that, I turned around and played Will. I was like, I still think Obi-Wan's better.
I think there's 2 things going on with in real life tournaments. Is one, we're just playing, right? Because no one's played in a while, so everyone's like, I just want to have fun and I'm gonna go with whatever. And then 2, I think we're seeing an influx of new players, right? Who maybe don't listen to us or you guys, and are just like, I'm just gonna play whatever, and they and they just come with whatever they have or whatever they're interested in.
And Anakin has a bit more, I guess, of that cool factor. I don't know, like again, Obi-Wan, even when you're playing aggro Obi-Wan, you still tend to be pretty slow with him, like you're very careful with him. Anakin's you just throw him at the enemy and hopefully he survives, something like that. Not always. That's actually not how I play him at all, but that's how a lot of people that I see play him. And it's just, I think he just has this coolness factor because it's Anakin and that's just fun. And the flaw card, like again, competitively, you're like, oh, the flaw, although it doesn't super matter. But again, coolness wise, you're like, oh, cool, neat. What a cool thing I can do. Like I'm going to power him up with his command cards, which again sounds like a cool idea until you put it into function. You're like, wow, that's really debilitating. That's awful. Totally. Wow, what an awful idea.
I mean, I think if they like supercharged him even more, I think it might be more of a conversation, right? Sure. But I just like the thing is that like without the command cards, he sort of does what Kenobi does, just like kind of worse a little bit.
Without the command cards, yes.
Like he can like sort of like do the guardian dodge thing with exemplar, right? Like it's kind of similar.
I've found his exemplar to be more effective than Kenobi's barrier because of the way you can spend and the way you can get around and thing. Like Anakin with the exemplar card and defensive stance and the rest of your army with SA is more effective to me.
I agree there. I guess what I'm trying to say is like they do very similar like defensive posturing things in like, oh, we both basically pseudo share dodge tokens and we both can take force barrier, right? And like do the thing. But one of us has command cards that do things and the other one doesn't. You know?
Yeah, and the other one gives me keywords that maybe
yeah.
let me do things that most Jedi can already do for free.
Yeah, like I think Anakin would be amazing if he had a card that like dumped 6 dodge tokens on him, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Like
yeah.
he would do real good.
Mhm.
But
Also his mastery, I don't it sounds cool. It's like one of those things like, oh cool, you take an automatic wound. That's great, but when you know that anyone else using their regular deflect or whatever could deal, you know, 5 wounds or something like that potentially, and you're like, okay, you take 1 and that's it. It's great against single users, but like against squads, she's like,
I feel that too. It's like it's one of those things where like the threat of deflect is often
yes,
like the idea of, oh my god, they could roll 4 surges and like wipe my unit. It like just that idea going through your opponent's head does more damage than deflect generally does. And with Gemso, it's like they know how much damage they're going to take.
Yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen. This is fine.
Yep.
It's basically, you know, you shoot Anakin with a large body unit and then just throw a bucket of dice at him. And then you might lose a guy, but you threw all the dice at him, and you know the worst that's going to happen is you take a damage. That's 1 damage instead of your hero unit taking 1 damage automatically.
Yeah, I definitely think it like super high level play that matters less from like you know, when you're breaking out the deflect numbers versus Gemso. Like Gemso does more damage on average than deflect does. But if you're a player that is not looking at the numbers and is like looking at those abilities, kind of, you know, one seems a lot more threatening than the other, and it's not Gemso. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's a very long-winded way of saying I play Kenobi. It's going well. Invader, I'm not quite a lock for elims, but I'm close.
You're pretty close there. If you're 3-0.
Yeah. I think like I definitely, there is a world where I make it in if I win no games right now. But if I win one more, I'm pretty much locked. So
for our group, I'm waiting for. We have one player who's not playing the games. Like, if you can just lose twice, we're good. We can all just go home. That's it. We can all just stop.
So do we want to talk some hobby talk today? How we feeling about hobby?
I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can dance.
Great. So I want to talk some hobby stuff. Tim, I want to yield the floor to you though. Do you have any hobby stuff you want to talk about?
You can see some of my hobby stuff back there.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
I have 2 lats, but I'm missing a base turn one. I don't know where it is. That's fine. I'll never run double lat anyway because I'm sensible. My only real hobby stuff right now, honestly, is I'm planning on repainting all of my Imperials. Because I did that with my clones. I made them all one uniform thing. I made them all chrome, basically, my chrome clones, and you know, obviously did highlights to differentiate bases and units and stuff like that. And they're all pretty uniform except for the heroes, and the arcs are a little bit different. But again, everyone's basically got the same coat of armor, chrome armor. And I'm basically going to do the same thing for my Imperials, but I'm going to do it all in Retributor gold.
So nice. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to strip them or not. And it also does hurt me a little bit because they're the first minis I've ever painted in my life. And some of them are not half bad. So I'm kind of like, I don't really want to destroy all of them. So I might keep like one body.
Just go buy a bunch of new ones. You'll be fine.
That's how I feel about it. I'm in camp, never strip a model.
Yeah, I didn't strip my clones. And everyone's like, oh, you have to strip it. And if you're going to repaint them, it's fine. Because with an airbrush, it's such a light coat. It doesn't clog anything up for me detail wise.
Let me requalify that. I'm in never repaint a model. The repaint a model camp. That's what I was in.
Okay.
My intention was to say.
I see.
Just from like we've got so many models and I have so many that are unpainted. Why would I ever go back and repaint something I've already repainted?
That's fair.
You know.
That's fair.
But that's just how I feel about it.
No, I probably should. I should subscribe to that because I have all bunches of other stuff that's not painted. So
yeah.
So Jay, what do you got going on for
Which one do you
hobby?
want me to do there, Mike? You tell me.
Well, so the top one I
Yeah.
want to talk about because that's what I did last weekend.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I wrote it. Yeah, I have. Well, let's do that one because I think I might have an alternate to
Sure,
that. So
sure.
go ahead, you start.
Yeah, so as many people know, painting is not the part of the hobby that I enjoy. However, I have been getting my Stormtide army ready for my Stormtide endeavors. And so my Stormtide army is half rebel and half droids. It's more like
Nice.
rebels that basically all the droid units have AI, and there's like no way to get them orders in the list intentionally. So they're actually operating as like droids and they have to like trigger AI every turn. I just think it was like kind of a fun thematic concept of having a bunch of rebels that have a bunch of like reprogrammed droids that they can't really, do things with. So in any case, I basically started painting my droid contingent, and I decided to basically prime them black and then just dry brush them. And oh my God, I forgot how easy dry brushing was and how quick. I did like a unit of B1s in like 45 minutes, just dry brush them silver, painted some squad markings on, put red eyes on there because I'm all about droids having red eyes and looking like, basically they all look like rusty Terminators. Cylons. My B2s, I have one unit of B2s, they look like Cylons. It's amazing. I love it. And I'm really happy with how it came out. I just like, to me, specifically for units that are like all metal, dry brushing is such an easy way to like get a really awesome looking mini in like no time. Looks great, I don't know. And so I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody because I painted like 4 units of droids in like 3 hours and it was awesome.
So actually, it's funny, Mike, my alternative is a speed painting endeavor as well. So if you want your B1s to look like they do in the Star Wars universe, I have a great tip. You can do it with 3 paints. So basically you get the Citadel Wraithbone spray, the aerosol can. You get the contrast paint of Skeleton Horde. And then you do a dry brush of Skeleton Bone by Citadel. And it's literally that easy. And they'll look exactly like they do in the movie. And it takes literally no time. Because for anybody who hasn't used contours, it's meant to create the multi-tone effect. So it'll go into the recesses to give you your dark. And then it kind of uncovers the tops to give you your highlights. And then gives you nice midtones. So with 3 paints, you can literally do a speed paint through all your B1s and make them look like they would in the movies. So that was mine, Mike.
Nice.
And then I have I wrote easy peasy grassy knolls. So for those of you that are listening, I am showing one of my grassy knolls. Actually, I'm good. This one's more fun. So this one has a crashed T-47.
Did you buy a T-47 just to crash it?
No, so this was before they made them good. Right. And I was like, I'll never use this thing. And I just I made it into terrain. So basically what the grassy knoll part is you can get these foam boards here in the US at the hardware store. They're like $5 for a 4 foot by 4 foot square of foam. You cut it down with however hot knife or just a regular, you can use regular blades. Then for the dirt, what I do is you could go to any hobby store like a Hobby Lobby or whatever and get this stuff called Liquitex Basics. They have a coarse texture gel. And then you can get a brown paint. You mix them together, it gives you dirt, and you put it on there. And this is they're like $7 a bottle. And then you just put a little flock on top and you got yourself some grass. And then on this one I'm showing on our YouTube video, there's a barricade that I just painted. It's kind of rusty and stuff. And I got this tree looking thing is actually, I got it at the dollar store. It was a bow staff in the kids section that I snapped in half and I'm using it as a tree.
I want to imagine you just going down the kids section and like some kids taking the last one like a Turbo Man situation, and you just like taking it from his hand, you're like, bam, terrain.
Yeah, except for there was 10 and I was the one taking them all. Just like I was like,
even
10,
better.
Yeah,
Even better. Like the
$10,
anti-Santa.
yes, please.
Yeah.
And just like put it all in my cart and then flip the kid off as I walked by.
That's right.
But yeah, so it's real easy. Just some foam, those two paints, coarse texture and a brown, and you got yourself some mud and dirt, and you can do like I have a Mimbam table that I did, the mud with that. You can do the mud that way.
God,
and
that's
then
such a good idea. I've made one map in my life, and I made I always forget who makes it, but it's like the ruined temple set pieces.
Oh yeah, that's Imperial terrain.
Imperial, yeah. And it's basically I think we've taken to calling it like Corbin themed, because it like kind of dusty, but not Tatooine dusty, if that makes sense. Anyway, arid.
It's not sand.
Arid. Yeah, it's not sand, because it's coarse and gets everywhere. But but for the top of all the crescent moon shapes, I did a couple of those. And I wish I had known the trick. I wish I had known this, because I just took a bunch of sterling mud, and I was just like scraping sterling mud over the top of everything. And I was like, I've done 2 of these and I'm out of mud. I must buy more mud. And my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm buying mud. Leave me alone. I wish I had known that trick.
Yeah, this coarse texture gel, it's for acrylic paints. So you can, it's an old, like, it's supposed to be for like canvas, right? But you can use it for this, and that's how I do all my mud and dirt. And then you can use different shades of brown, like if you want. So you could even do like a sand with it, right? And it'll give you a coarse texture. And literally for $8 a bottle, this stuff I'm barely through these, and I did like 2 tables worth of terrain with it. So awesome. It goes forever. And then the other neat thing you can do, so like if you're doing an indoor table, I have these, you could see these little like ferns and stuff on here. I don't know if you guys can see it on the YouTube.
I can see it.
So basically what you could do is go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever, and you go into the fake flower section and they have the big ferns. Well, if you buy those big ferns, they're actually just a bunch of tiny ferns that are on the big fern, and you just pull those off and then glue them onto your terrain, and now you got tiny miniature ferns.
Yeah, there you go.
Easy peasy.
Lemon squeezy.
There was something, a quick shout out, kind of on that same vein, for the Dallas, it was Dallas Open. Yeah, they had cut up old mats, right, like green mats, so that was like the base, so like the area terrain base, and then they just had like brush that was, you're supposed to pull it apart like you said, but they actually left it together, so it just looked like brush. But then also it meant functionally that if you had a unit that wanted to move through it, you could just pick up the whole thing. You don't have to pick up individual pieces. You don't have to try and like rest on top of it. You can just pick up the whole like sprue. Basically, it was a sprue of terrain, and I'm just gonna move this and put it over here, do my thing, cool. And then put it back. Yeah, it was the kind of thing that was so simple that I just blew my mind. I was like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. Simple things blow my mind though. What do Stabcast.
I mean, when it comes to terrain and stuff, like the simple things that are effective, really, I don't know. Yeah. They're game changers.
Yeah. Because I mean, I think we all face this as time, right? Like we've got so much to paint and so much to do. So anywhere where you can make it easy and effective. Like if anybody has listened to our podcast, I'm all about that with painting my miniatures, with doing my terrain. Like, it's like, how can I get to the end as quick as possible and still have the, decent looking stuff. That's always what it's about. So.
Well, and terrain too, like I found after making that table, it was really interesting because with the units, you do a couple of details and you're good. With terrain, it's like I keep finding a little thing like I could touch this up. I could add some rust here. Could add some corrosion over here. Like you want to keep messing with it.
Yep.
Yeah. Totally. I don't really make terrain. I pay people to do that for me.
That's smart. That is smart.
It is, but it's expensive. So so I think we should probably get into the moment everybody is undoubtedly waiting for. People have been dying for Stabcast TFT Scoundrels hot takes. And I think we've got to start with the Roman trash can, R2D2. And all right, so clearly this hot take, me and Tim come down on very different sides of the aisle on this.
I'm so excited.
One side's right, the other side's name is Mike.
So I think the way that I would like to do this, I guess, I'm kind of riffing here. So if this doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Jay, I want you to be a judge, and I want you to let us deliver statements.
All right, I love judging.
We're going full. Are we going debate class?
Yeah. I even wore my Star Wars Legion shirt for this, so I will be the Star Wars Legion judge. I would have
had notes. If you think I don't have notes on part 2, you're wrong.
I'm sorry. Order in the court. We're gonna let the visitor go first, because if nothing, we're gentlemen here. So go ahead.
I was gonna go with nothing, but that's fine. So R2, picture this: you're playing a really close game. You're tied on Vaps, 4-4, neck and neck, shooting back and forth. You don't know who's gonna get it. What's that in the corner? What's that where you can never shoot him because he has all the best keywords? Oh my God, it's a victory point. Looks like R2D2 rolls across and he scores, and that's it. And now he hides, and that's it. That thing that's happened all the way over there on the other end of the map that I cannot affect has won the game. I have no control over. I mean, if I devote units to go and kill him, then I'll probably lose the main engagement, and I lose anyway. Like, even if you kill R2, normally you've devoted so many resources to the killing R2 that you've now lost on a different grounds. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. So why don't we just say damn to R2 instead? Hashtag banned R2.
All right.
Yeah.
The court has heard your side. We'll now go to the incumbent, Mike Dashes Barry. Go ahead.
Incumbent. Wow. What am I an incumbent of?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I just your cast.
I figured I don't know, defendant. I don't know, whatever.
So a person that used to play Empire but now plays clones.
Okay. I mean, we both fit that profile, so
that's why you're the incumbent.
That's true. No,
yeah. So I would like to say that R2D2 is not nearly as much of a threat as our man Stabcast Tim here would like you to feel that he is. And I think overall, through a combination of picking good deployments, so that you can not only deal with R2 but also deal with the objective with the same main bulk of your force at the same time. Clearly, if you are not blue player, sometimes that's tough, and you gotta kind of play so that I think a lot of players get caught up in the fallacy that if R2 is on the table, you either have to choose to deal with him or like choose to not deal with him. And I think a lot of times you can make that hedge, and a lot of times it ends up not mattering. And so I think what's important about this is that when you see an R2 across the table, you need to understand that your opponent has sacrificed something to put them in their list.
45 points is not a sacrifice.
Well, hold up. I would challenge everyone to make a good Republic list that's able to share tokens effectively with an R2D2 in it. And I would argue that all of those lists would be better served if they took those 45 points and put them into units with the Clone Trooper keyword. And conversely, I think with the Rebels, it's less of a cost. Rebels definitely tend to have more points available to them. The lists are more flexible. They also tend to often have things like Tauntauns or airspeeders or whatever, and those lists I think are maybe a little bit more problematic, but I think that overall the lists like that are often beating you with things like bombing run and breakthrough. And is R2 good on those objectives? Yes, but the lists that are good on those objectives are not good because of R2. They're good because they're good at bombing run and they're good at breakthrough. And I think you're really losing to the objective because you have to focus so much on it anyways. And you're probably losing on it anyways. Why? Wow, Jay just moved. I don't know what happened.
Tim just raised his hand in the Zoom call.
Is that what happened?
Is that what happened?
Tim is so upset.
So to conclude my opening statements, I would make the argument that R2 is really not that of much of a threat. Everybody just needs to get good.
Ooh, you had a really nice logical argument, and then the argument is just do better. That's it. Just do better. The idea that there's nothing wrong with it, it's fine. Yeah. Just do better.
Haven't you ever listened to this podcast?
Now hold on, dear listeners. I want you to know, I believe in you. I believe that you have the talents and the skills that are necessary. And just because the deck is rigged against you, just because your opponent brought R2 because they're abusive like that, doesn't mean you have to take that. You don't have to get good. The game just has to adapt around what sometimes is broken system. The system can be fixed. And with you and I working together without Mike Berry, we can make it better. I believe in you. All right. But also,
I don't believe in you. I think that if you use the stuff that we talk about, you will get better at playing against R2.
Here's the other
this
problem.
Will be a non-issue.
The other problem is that turn zero shouldn't exist, and we should just randomly deal out cards.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure we should randomly deal out cards, but I am with you on that to some extent. I think turn zero. So maybe
random one deployment, random one.
Whoa! I want to make my ruling here.
Yeah, go.
Oh, what's your ruling?
My ruling is I tend to agree with Tim. I hate R2. Yeah, he's the worst.
Because you're an Imperial.
He should get out of this game. It's the worst.
It's the factor is, and the problem really is that it's 45 points. He's so cheap. Imagine if my Stormtrooper, for one less point, he's only one less point, or one more point rather. Imagine if my Stormtrooper could just go win a victory point. So just go wander off into the desert and be like, I'm gonna go win. Like, I see you're tied. I see you're really neck and neck here and having a really good game of skill. Let's just take some of that skill away and put it onto a unit named R2D2.
Sure. I think that that perspective
that's a patronizing, sure, but carry on. That's fine.
That perspective is so here's my issue with this, and maybe it is mostly anecdotal, but I have yet to have a game where I haven't killed R2 or R2 has actually mattered.
I would counter that. I hear what you're saying. I would counter that with, I think R2's mattering more than you're giving him credit for, even when you don't think he is. So if he's taking shots, then he's mattering. I mean, if he can take shots because he's inconspicuous and invincible, whatever else is his keywords. But I think
that's somewhat fair. But the thing is, if you kill R2, like, your opponent just wasted 45 points, and
but often 45 points. Who cares?
I mean, it's not as far as what you're paying for defensively, you're not really paying for anything better than a Rebel Trooper squad, right? You're actually paying more points for the R2 activation than you are for a Rebel Trooper squad, which is just as defensive as R2.
If you're going to put your R2 in the front line in the trenches, you're absolutely right.
Well,
but if you're putting your R2 in the trenches in the front line, you've already lost. So that's different.
I think part of that maybe I've just played a lot of people that don't know how to play R2. That maybe that is a thing. However, I think that so I think I tend to have a more aggressive play style than a lot of people. I tend to the way a lot of my games go is I posture into a place where I quickly set up in a position that I feel like a forward position that I make my enemy attack, is kind of how I like to play the game. And I make sure it's not in my deployment zone most of the time. I make sure it's, I'm outside it. And what I find is it makes people that are playing R2 really uncomfortable because they can't put R2 in a place where he can just sit and bump over at the end of the game, because in order to get to the place that he needs to like sit in, I've already got it angled. I've already like, if he's ready to kind of like swoop into my deployment zone, I'm ready. And I do think to some extent clones are uniquely suited to dealing with R2 from a one shot, one kill type of situation.
Murder him.
I in here, from what I'm hearing, Mike, is but on all your arguments, they all come from a clone's perspective, right?
They totally do. And right now I don't have a lot of other perspectives. Like, I mean, like, clearly I can play every other faction, and I have, and I do dabble, but yeah, I play clones mostly. But it's for me, I don't really feel R2 is super problematic.
So as someone who has played against him often as a Empire player, I think that's, again, my view is skewed as well, because as an Empire player, he's really tough to deal with. And when I'm already struggling with activations just to get what I needed to get on the table, like devoting any of them to R2 is a pain in the ass. And then also when
before you move on, I want to challenge that point really quick.
Yep.
And it's really a fundamental question that we've already talked about today.
Yep.
Is that truly an R2 problem, or is that just a problem that Empire doesn't have
could be
good tools?
That could be. That could be
either.
I would like to pose an alternate question to like is it actually the big boogeyman in the room, or is it the fact that, I mean,
could it be a little bit of both?
I think it definitely could be. I just wanted to bring that into the conversation.
But I would also say, when we played Team League, I played one of my few games not playing Empire. I played a Rebel double T-47 list, and I ended up tying the game and bringing it to points because of R2, because I just like scooted him over, busted over some terrain with his one pip, and I had a point. And a game where my opponent thought he had won had just turned into a tie, and turned out maybe I had won because of points.
And that's part of the problem too, right? Is like, I know, and I always talk about how R2 was just winning the game, but it's that issue too of, let's kind of flip the script a little bit.
Yeah.
If I've been really aggressive and I've moved forward, and I've got an extra tap on the VAP or something like that, like Jay said. But now if you have R2, and maybe, if I have not been able to kill R2, okay, now you've just for 45 points, again, for 45 points and very little effort, you've just countered my enormous effort with my higher point value. All of my hard thinking and posturing and positioning, all of that just got countered because you threw a trash can across the map.
I think the problem with it is, if I'm just thinking out loud, this isn't a fully thought out idea, but like,
it's from you, so we understand.
Yeah. No, everybody knows, they've been listening long enough. So if you let's look at bounty, right, which is supposed to be something that's supposed to help with that, right, and give you a victory point. In the beginning, we were like, oh my God, Boba, like, victory point, I'm going to put it on this person, I'm going to kill him, and it's going to be over. But it requires 10 times the amount of work and 10 times the amount of points to pull it off.
And also a lot of luck too. No, hold it.
It's like three times the amount of points.
Times the
just
points.
I want to just clarify them.
Yeah, right, because we never exaggerate on this podcast.
But there's still such an element of luck to bounty as well, right? Like, your opponent could potentially just straight roll fire and block everything, and then just your bounty just never dies. Even if you're rolling pure crits all the day long, it doesn't, like, if they just outroll you, it happens.
I mean, you do have Pierce on all the units with bounty. I just like
as much as I
the whoopee signal for our audio.
As much as I hate Pierce, and how much I think Pierce should only be on a melee units, but that's a separate problem. That's a whole nother free hot taking there. Pierce should only be on melee units. But anyway, my issue with that is, there's lots of keywords now that can counteract that kind of Pierce, either impervious or just immune Pierce, things like that. But then, like, the paywall that it's behind, like, I mean, Boss is good, but he's also 115 points. I'm not going to be surprised if he actually goes up a little bit I don't want him to, but I won't be surprised if he does.
If one Empire unit goes up, it's him.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I think that's fair. Well, I don't think it's fair, but I think it's understandable.
Yeah.
And then Boba, I mean, he's the clown in the corner, so I'm not going to bring Boba.
So yeah, and to get back,
I want to try and win.
What I was saying is there's no other equal force in the game that is like a point, just a victory point. That easy and that cheap.
Okay, maybe not that cheap, but I mean, like,
nope, she's not that cheap. She's not that cheap. And also, you know darn well she does not get her points value if you're using her for secret mission.
I am well aware.
The battery.
Okay,
yeah.
So I guess,
but now they have two.
So
yeah, well, that's a separate problem.
So here's my follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
What? So let's for a minute assume that you're right, and R2 is a problem. Without an errata, what points value do you think his suite of abilities is worth?
60.
I agree with that. I think 60, because at the end of the day, he is all like salt and anger aside. At the end of the day, he is a 4 health. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. Sorry, like 4 health, white surging saves, but still, like I So you don't want to. As much as I would love to make him cost 200, realistically 60. Like I thought when the last points change happened, I thought for sure he was going to 50, so I was a little disappointed at 45, but I mean, I think realistically I look for 50.
Sure,
I would love to see 60. I think 60 would be fair, but
yeah, I just like, so my issue with R2 is that I don't think he's not really useful. I like he literally, the only thing he does is secret mission.
Have you never played a game where your opponent heals 2 wounds off a droid after a shielded bus that you already had to work so hard to get those 2 wounds on, and then runs across and scores secret mission with him? It like slaps you in the face and then hits you with the brass knuckles.
So the last game I played against,
because that's what it feels like.
So the last game I played against R2 bus, I destroyed the bus, and then I destroyed the R2 that was inside it.
Okay.
And
we're not all as good as you, Mike.
No, I mean,
you want to talk about get good? What's that guy
doing?
doing?
there is a like a world where I think if my opponent had played differently, he could have just, like, instead of being conservative with the bus, like headlong the bus to the back of my deployment zone and dropped R2 off in a corner. However, I think he basically like blew 200 and some odd points to do that, and I would have been able to crush him on the main objective.
That's between him and God, though. Like, the point is that he can do that. He chose not to, and that's the problem.
Well, like, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know.
The bus again. Don't get me started on the bus, please. I'm already taking up enough of your time.
But so just, I guess, to follow up on that comment, I'm with you there. I think the bus is an actual problem.
That is.
I think we're all in agreement with that.
Oh, it's so bad. And like when we all said that before it came out, right? Especially like as people doing podcasts and stuff, we're like, oh, this could be fun. Like, oh wow, it's gonna be kind of like, it's one thing to say in theory land, like it's gonna be a problem. Like we all thought Lando was gonna be like this amazing unit that is just gonna like be an auto include on every rebel list. I still think he's good, but he's not as good as we all thought.
Yep.
The bus was as good as we thought, and then some. Like it's more impressive.
I think the bus is good for reasons that are not really on its stat card, and like I actually, this is gonna be maybe hot takey, but I don't have that big of an issue with unorthodox tactician. I know, like I could see it going up in points.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
However, I don't think it's what makes the bus broken. The bus just goes wherever it wants and does whatever it wants, and it obscures a lot of things, and it makes it is so chunky that you can literally make areas of the board inaccessible.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I'll give a real world example, and this was something we brought up, I don't know, back in August, I guess. So we went to that tournament, and Evan we brought this thing called a Highlander list, where we can only bring one of a unit and one of an upgrade and couldn't repeat anything. And he brought a Rebels unit with a bus and practically went 3-0, and like nobody could even touch him because of the bus. He had the bus and Mandalorians, and he's just like, oh, you killed that Mandalorian? Nope, with the bus, and like brought it back and then blocked him from doing anything. And
we had an event that was basically a local tournament. We hyped it up a little bit more because we were hoping to get more people in, but it was still, COVID was still, doing its weird things that it does right now. So but Brett, crazy Brett, who we always poke at on the show, had a 300% MOV, perfect score, 3-0, 300%. No one even scored a victory point against him. He tabled Will's Obi-Wan list with his double buses with the crazy driver on it, because he just ran people over.
Take enough rockets, but yeah,
he just ran people over. That's it. And he was just in your zone, like.
And he's 3 raccoons in a trench coat, so
he is.
Who knew that could happen?
Well, yeah, you guys gave Evan the raccoon thing, so we actually told Brett, we're like, listen, we can't call you raccoon because that's their shtick, so we got to change it up a little bit. Like, you're more like a badger anyway. So.
He messaged me once and asked me about that, and I'm like, who are you?
We tell him that too sometimes.
Yeah. Why are you on my Facebook right now?
Oh, is the peons bothering you?
Yeah.
Away on the Facebook.
What is this redneck trash from down south coming up here talking to me? I'm too busy with my gold-plated spoon right now.
The raccoons of the 5th Trooper cannot be bothered with the badgers of the stab cows.
That's correct. I have no argument against any of that.
I'm not even sure where we're at right now.
It doesn't matter.
So I guess I
insanity.
think when we're talking about the bus, I actually think that like the problems are more like way more to do with I don't know how to fix the bus.
Yeah. Within the time frame, because I know we've already taken forever. Like, no, I don't know. The easy way to say is no, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's tough.
Yeah.
So, Tim, how do you feel about burst of speed?
I'll give you this real quick. Despite all my hot takes, I think it's burst of meh. It's fine. The problem is it takes up a 4 slot, which is just super valuable right now.
It is.
Even for amped up, steroid Vader that we're gonna have. So it's super valuable 4 slot. And I think it's gonna be a lot of people running Vader in, getting a really cool swing with him, and then he's immobilized, and then he dies, and then he gets punked up, which I understand that is a skill thing and that's a practice thing, and I get that. But I'm just saying, I think everyone's going to throw it on their Vader automatically and be like, yeah, I'm going to kill everybody. And then you're going to be standing in the open. And if you play a player that just knows borderline what he's doing, he just activates that, if it's a core trooper, activate the core trooper first, retreat. Everyone shoots Vader.
I hear what you're saying. There's a very easy workaround here. And let me know if this changes how you feel about it.
Yes.
Okay. So the easy workaround is the turn after you burst of speed, you have an immobilized token.
Yes.
If you burst of speeded correctly, you're still in base contact with something.
Yes.
Right? Like, because you buried yourself safely. Right. Maybe you killed a unit and then force pushed another unit into you.
One would hope you didn't use your speed 6 movement to not get in base to base with someone.
Yeah. But like, I just want to point out the criteria for if we're effectively using burst of speed.
Paint the scene, Michelangelo. Paint the scene.
Yes, you have based something, hopefully killed it, and then force pushed another unit into you, so that hopefully there's 2 units in melee with you, but sometimes there may be only 1. On the following turn, you just basically can immediately go with Vader. You can do one of two. Basically, you should do 2 things. The first is to take a dodge token, and the second is to take a standby. So if you take a standby token, it cannot be stripped unless they have a force push in their list.
Right.
Which means if the unit you are in base contact with withdraws, so the immobilization token goes away at the end of your activation.
Right, at the end of activation.
So you now have a standby token you can move off of.
Sure.
Right. So if they withdraw so that the rest of the army can shoot you, you just rebase them and choose to kill them or choose to not. You can base them and use as much of your Pierce as you want.
I was just going to say,
and elect to leave one model, right?
Right.
And now you're safe.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
Is it like a less good turn 2 than you might otherwise normally have because you're not going bonkers with Vader?
Yeah, but better to keep Vader alive than better to have a mediocre turn 2 and keep Vader alive than just lose him outright.
So he's got practice at that answer. I've come up with this scenario as well. I don't think burst of speed is that great either. But
I think it could be really solid. Yeah. I just think it's going to be overused and misused a lot.
That I will agree with.
Yeah, and just like Vader was. This was my whole argument too. Was before all this happened, Vader was getting overused and misused as well. And we used to have entire segments. I mean, Mike, we used to talk about this on the Scoundrels and Fifth Trooper about, hey, if you have Vader, don't go after another Saber user. Like he should be going after core unit. Remember, we used to have these talks about that.
Yeah, so, he's the anti-core. Like he's just boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
So
no, that's fair. That's fair. Good. I didn't think about the standby. That's totally fair.
It's also worth noting that works with any force user that has burst of speed. You can take a standby token in melee with whatever you're with. The immobilized token will drop, and if they withdraw, you just rebase them. And if they don't withdraw and they just stay in melee, chances are there's something around that will pop the standby, and if the standby doesn't get popped, it's really not that big a deal. Like, your force user is alive.
That's the point of the whole thing.
Right?
Live to kill another day.
Yeah, totally.
That's fair.
That's how I'm feeling about it. I don't know. Maybe I will be proven wrong, but I
think that's fair.
I think burst of speed.
I think it's fine. Again, it's meh. I'm not saying it's bad. It is meh. It can occasionally be really good in the right hands. I think overall it's just not going to get used to its full potential. And that's to be fair. I'm not saying that I'm just going to turn around and be a pro using it. Like I imagine I'm going to get punked off the board a bunch once I learn like how to use it. So it's going to take time.
Yeah, it's definitely like you, particularly in conjunction with Vader, like you have to figure out how to like darkness descends properly to like do the thing you need to do.
I'm going to be excited for our first tournament after it comes out and it's put on Vader all the time, and how many and on Op Vader, I should say. And I'm going to maybe keep track, maybe we could turn it into a drinking game of how many times someone tries to spur with an immobilized Vader.
I still think that should.
That's a whole separate problem. I'm just saying, how many times is that call going to come? Like, oh, but I have spur. But do you? But do you?
That was a little bit of a gotcha ruling, but yeah.
I think it's fine. But yeah, I can understand either way.
I think the rules at present support that you can do it, but it has been ruled otherwise.
I think when it's laid out the way they laid it out and spelt it out word by word, I get it.
Yeah,
but I think it could be retooled.
I would like it to be reworded.
Yeah, it's fine.
So in any case, we've been at this for about an hour and a half. Do you have some more hot takes, or should we wrap it up?
I'm sure I do. I'm sure if you ask my opinion on some unit that other people have mediocre opinions on. What's your hot take?
The movie Solo is really, really good. And maybe one of the better Star Wars movies.
Oh, now we're getting too far. Too far.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's burst of speed.
I'm putting it
Solo is burst of speed for me.
I'm putting it in the top 4.
Ooh. I'll have a hot take. I'll have a hot take off of that. But what's your top 4 then?
Okay. All right.
Does that mean it's 4th, just to be clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I just
yeah.
That's
So
number one. Yeah.
it's actually so I'm gonna go a little bit backwards, but it's gonna be
I'll allow it.
So number 1 is Rogue One,
Okay, I understand.
2 is Empire, 3 is A New Hope, and 4 is Solo, and then
Okay.
Jedi is right after that.
Okay.
Mm.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
I've said this before. I've said this on Discord and on the cast many times, and I get
Here we
heat
go.
for it and hate for it. But now I'm going to bring the heat to y'all. A New Hope is the worst Star Wars movie. There it is.
Leia, you can't just say that.
I
and
love
not-
it. No,
so-
just end the
It's-
podcast right there.
Yeah, that's it. Cut it. Cut it. We're done.
We're not gonna
Versus
cut it.
speed.
I
I'm
need-
immobilized. That's
No,
it.
no. You have to fundamentally support your argument, sir.
It's boring. It's so boring and dull. The dialogue is mediocre at best. The best thing it does for everything is just that, like, the world it builds around it. But like that's really done in spite of the script and things like that.
So
I mean,
what do
you can't
what do
argue
put
that
as
any
number 1.
I mean, hold up. You can't say that any Star Wars script is more than mediocre at best.
I would argue Rogue One is more than mediocre, script wise.
Okay, I guess I'll say that.
And the last half of Revenge of the Sith, maybe. No,
The last half.
I think
I take that back. I take that back.
I think if you're gonna make that argument, like Force Awakens and Last Jedi are decent candidates for best voice lines in a
If you don't
Star
count
Wars
Finn,
movie.
but yeah, Finn.
Okay.
Finn
I don't
got
know.
done
I don't know.
dirty.
I like the prequels are not exactly like scripted super well.
No.
You know,
No, not at all. Not at all.
That's what happens when you have unlimited power.
But at least something's happening instead of like nothing.
I will
Or
say
nothing.
I do find A New Hope a little bit. I can gel with the. It doesn't feel like there's a ton going on throughout most of the movie.
No, it's just like, oh, all right, cool. You're gonna go over here. All right. You know how many times I've shown A New Hope to someone new to Star Wars and they fall asleep during it? It's the only movie they fall asleep for. Sometimes Empire. Although I like Empire. I'm not knocking Empire. Although I do think that one gets a little slow on you too.
I think that is also like a sign of the times sort of thing. Like they haven't
That's fair.
aged super well.
Yeah. And again, I think that's the difference for me between, if we're going to compare those two. Empire it's such a good piece of storytelling and it's so immersive that, yeah, even though it's slow, like obviously what determines a good movie isn't just, is it fast-paced action? Because if that's the case, then Fast and the Furious would be the best movies ever. But like that doesn't just automatically determine quality. But you got to balance it out, right? Like if you're going to take that away, then add some depth to it. And I think Empire does that well. I don't think New Hope does it as well as it's built.
Yeah, I think the problem too is you've got with Mandalorian, we've got something so
Ooh.
good
Yeah.
now that you go back and you're like, I mean, I get it. This started it all, but holy cow, is Mandalorian so good. Like,
Well,
I
and
mean-
like I wonder if A New Hope could have been. I don't want it to be. Let's just clarify that. But I want it, like, imagine A New Hope told in Mandalorian like episodic style, like in shorter bites.
Yeah,
it would
I
have been
think
more
it
interesting.
would have been great. You
Yeah.
know, again, I think it's a sign of the times. I think if they could have made Star Wars and like they made Mandalorian, I think they would have.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, there's your hot take. There you go. There you go. I've said that for years, and I'll keep saying it until
It's great.
something else happens.
I don't
But yeah.
agree with it, but I support your decision. I mean, for
Thanks,
anyone,
Dad.
yeah, for anyone to
You have our approval, son.
for anyone to say, to answer the question, what is the worst Star Wars movie of all time with anything but The Rise of Skywalker, is painful to me.
Okay. I don't love Rise of Skywalker, but I don't hate it as much as people do either. I think Last Jedi was far worse, but Last Jedi is a train wreck on top of a ship crash, on top of a, I don't know, explosion.
I would just be fine if they just erased my memory of all the new movies. And
I loved Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I Rise of Skywalker.
I'll say this. I will say this. Force Awakens, I for sure loved and was so excited. And they just killed me with the next two movies that I was just like, wow, I'm not excited for this anymore. Well, and you've ruined that for me because I know where it goes now.
And Force Awakens, you could overlook a lot of the similarities to Episode 4 because it was honestly, here you go. I think it was a better telling of Episode 4. There you go.
I will agree with that.
There's that.
Yep.
But
go ahead.
A modern telling, in fact. A modern, better telling of Episode 4.
Yep.
Cool. I was fine with it. It brought us back to the world. Last Jedi just... I'm not even against the message they were trying to send. It's just the problem is it was such a left turn from it. Like I think if all three of those trilogy movies were made with that Last Jedi mindset, fine. If all three of them were made with the Force Awakens / Rise of Skywalker, mainly Force Awakens mindset, also fine. But the two together just
I sort of prefer to look at like The Last Jedi as like how I look at Rogue One, as a kind of like a standalone movie to some extent. Like I think it is a good movie in a, you know, if it's in its own pocket. The movies definitely do not gel together.
No. Rogue One is, I think, probably my favorite Star Wars movie.
Oh, it's mine by a mile.
I put it number one. Yeah.
Okay, any Star Wars movie where all the good guys die, sign me up.
Yeah, go Empire. Yeah, and Vader gets to actually be Vader.
Yeah.
Like,
so that movie was like a B-, B+ for me until they did the Vader scene, and then it was like, you got 140 on this paper.
That is one of those cinematic moments that I will legitimately remember for the rest of my life, because I was sitting next to my best friend. We watched it, of course, opening night. And when before the lightsaber even came on, when you just heard the voice, the rebreather, and you see the little puff go out, we freaked out. Like we just lost it. And then like it's just I still just get excited just thinking about it. Like it is so good.
And this is why the changes to Vader and Legion needed to happen, so that I can experience this on the table.
Yeah.
The thing is, want to listen to the Notorious Scoundrels movie podcast?
So I'm sure everybody has watched The Mandalorian by now. If you haven't watched The Mandalorian,
spoilers.
That's on
turn
them.
the podcast off.
Good call, Mike. Get good, right?
Yeah, get good.
Get good.
Turn the podcast off.
Turn it off.
So how did you guys feel about the similar reveal at the end of Mandalorian with Luke? Because I felt very similarly. So I cried like 5 times during Rogue One. I cried during the last episode of Mandalorian.
That's fair.
I was so excited all the way until they showed his face, and then it weirded me out so much.
I didn't mind it.
It threw me off a little bit, and I was just like, I mean, it's kind of like I like this, but I also am feeling weird about this at the same time.
But I liked it that A was actually Mark Hamill. That's nice. But like,
that made me feel better. Recent behind the scenes, I was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, I was fine with it because like something like that's gonna happen, and it's kind of like I very much took the attitude of it is what it is. Like if you want this, then you have to kind of have this. Like it's just something that's good. If you want your cake, you're gonna have to eat it too, kind of thing.
I would have been okay with like a Sebastian Stan coming in.
I was cheering for that. I'll give you that. But no, I agree though. I had this very similar reaction for Luke doing it, even though I'm more of a Vader fan. Yeah. Because Luke is the same. It's the same way, right? We never get to see Luke pop off.
We never get to see them be there.
Just go full.
Yeah.
And what's frustrating is they can, right? Like all of the other Star Wars movies have shown that they can, and even Return of the Jedi shows it a little bit, but it's just one-on-one.
Well, and part of it is again sign of the times type of deal. Like they couldn't do that what they did in either of these movies.
Yeah.
I would argue Mandalorian has some of the best Jedi scenes in all of Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's fair.
between Ahsoka and the Ahsoka episode and the Luke episode.
Yeah, Ahsoka fighting Blade person. That is his name escapes me, but yeah. And when she said Thrawn, I lost my mind, and my wife was like, "What's wrong with you? I don't understand." Like, it's everything that matters. This is the only thing that matters.
Dude, this is my whole life with Star Wars, the Star Wars TV shows and the Marvel shows. Like, my wife's like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "Ah, for God's sakes, we've watched all these movies together."
That's the other. I won't completely steer it off of Star Wars for you, but that's the other cinematic moment that'll always stand out. It's very similar to me, honestly. It was, although it took 10 years of build up.
Yeah.
The end of Endgame. The end of Endgame. When they all start coming in, I cried for that one, 100%. Well, when Tony left us, I also cried. But like, it's two different kinds of crying, right? Like, one was excited, the other one was very sad. But
it definitely was like they built it well. It was like an all hope is lost moment, and like it didn't feel like they were coming back,
right. And especially like coming off of like Cap using the hammer and things like or going into that rather.
I'm gonna just say it right now. I think we are in the heyday of Disney right now.
Oh, absolutely.
All the shows on Disney Plus is the best thing that's ever happened to geekdom.
Well, not only the heyday of Disney, I think we're in the heyday of TV. And I guess it's real more than just TV now with streaming. But like the stories you can tell, and I think that's the thing too, is artists are realizing you can tell a better story with a TV setup, even if it's a limited run TV setup. Like WandaVision, again, I'm not trying to go like, but like WandaVision was solid, and they said like, nope, that's it. We're not doing another one. Like, we're done. Right. Cool. And they told the story they wanted to tell the way they wanted to tell it. They didn't rush it, and it was great. So I think we're in the heyday of it, where artists, because for a long time, actors didn't want to do TV because it was looked down upon. And now I think you've had this creative reawakening. We're like, well, no, there's a story you want to tell, and in order to tell it effectively, we need TV.
I think it's amazing. Personally,
it's
fundamentally these are like 8 to 10 hour movies, right? That are told piecemeal, right?
With the way computer generated graphics are now, you can basically do anything you want on TV. It's crazy.
Well, and I know the ending wasn't great, but it's basically, I think what helped usher it all in was a lot of Game of Thrones, honestly, because that was I know we're not talking about the ending. We're not talking about the ending. I'm just everything else.
I can't even deal with it, man.
I know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's this huge story, and anybody who's a fan of the books knows it's a huge story. And you're like, I don't want you to fit this all, which is what happened at the end. But like, I don't want you to cram. I want you to draw it out. I want you to take your time. And I think that ushered in everything else. But anyway, that's completely off topic. So
it's okay. It's just the second time we've had this conversation today about Thrones, and it's a conversation I have on a weekly basis, at least with different people all the time.
I think we all, if nothing else, we have it every week with ourselves of like, did that happen? Do we have to remember that?
But I think that's gonna wrap it up for us today.
Sorry,
it's okay. No, this was good. We had
episode.
good hot takes. This is a good conversation. A little bit of a mix it up. Tim, thank you for coming and hanging on today with us. Do you want to quickly just plug Stabcast again before we get out of here?
So it's, like I said, it's at SW Stabcast on any of the various listening platforms, social media. We're on the Twitter and the Facebook, all those things. We sometimes stream on Twitch, both the official Stabcast account and my account, Timitation Irish, just have not been very active. I got too much going on in my life, unfortunately, and as much as I enjoy streaming, it's pretty low on my totem pole of priorities. So I really enjoy watching them, but keep an eye, follow the channels, but it's don't be expecting weekly content. Yeah, exactly. Just don't expect weekly content there.
Alrighty, and so this has been the Notorious Scoundrels again this week. I'm butchering it. I'm butchering it right now. I don't even remember what the extra is. All right, we've been the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Tim from Stabcast, not Notorious Scoundrels. Although I was supposed to record for Stabcast tonight, so that's my time.
Stay fresh cheese bags.